jump right in.
All right, it should be good.
It's recording now?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. All right, welcome everyone. This is our somewhat less regular than in the past, but regular monthly Trainers Consortium call. I hope to get back on track of having them every month on the first Tuesday. So thanks for joining. Our main event is going to be talking about badges and how people are incorporating badging / on-the-job training into their programs. But before that, we have a lot of updates this month. So I'm going to go Lynn, you at BPI, and then Jonathan at NASCASP, and then I'll do my updates, introduce you, Amy, and let you have a moment, and then Anna, you'll be up. So that's our roster. So Lynn, do you want to go ahead and give us any updates from BPI?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to provide a quick update from BPI pertaining to our remote proctoring process. As most may know, BPI has submitted our remote proctoring protocols to ANSI, and we have been granted provisional approval for our proctors to use this remote process for the Energy Auditor certification, which is currently ANSI accredited. That same remote process will be used for all our BPI certification exams. For the next 6 months, BPI will then gather all relevant information regarding the implementation of the remote proctoring platform and demonstrate compliance with ISO 17024. Email was sent out last week to all our test centers and proctors with all the specifics. So if anyone has not gotten that information, just reach out to me and we can have that resent out to you because it has all the specifics. Any additional questions that you may have, you can reach out to either myself, Lynn Griffith, or Michelle Watros. And that's it for me.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Lynn. Does anyone have any questions before we move on to Jonathan?
Yeah.
If you called in as an attendee, you might be kind of auto muted, so use the chat or the Q&A if you do have any, and I'll do my best to keep up with those.
All right, should I give it a go, Kelly?
Yeah, technically we're supposed to wait 11 seconds, but I know that feels like an eternity on these calls. So yeah, jump right in. If someone has questions, I'll just, we'll scoop them up in the in-between part.
Okay, well, I don't like to break rules. So 1 hippopotamus, 2 hippopotamus. Hang in there, everyone. All right, sorry. Okay, so for the NASCASP update, we had our winter training conference, which was all virtual, and it went really, really well. We had great attendance, but I want everyone to know that if you were an attendee, you can still access all of the content in the Attendify app, all the live stuff, all the recorded stuff. So be sure to have a look in there. And as part of our conference, we do the member planning and action meeting, where we kind of take the pulse of the network to see what the hot topics are. Stimulus, Davis-Bacon, and workforce were 3 that rose to the top of the list. NASCASP will be putting on, well, assisting with DOE, the WAP program manager orientation training, which we have set for May 10th through the 13th. And this is the training that is usually a part of the winter training conference, but this is, it'll be separate this year. And it's intended for WAP managers that have served in their role from 5 years or less. But of course, there's lots of information for even the most seasoned of weatherization managers. And a new part of this is that we're offering follow-up coaching to this within 60 days. So, you sit down and learn all this new stuff and then go back to where well, I guess you never go anywhere anymore. But we can assist you later in, helping you implement those things and that type of thing. So just something that we can do to further assist folks. Another thing that's going on right now is NASCASP is assisting IREC, and they are developing the grantee training. which is a similar protocol to what happened with the subgrantee training that was released last year. So, but more geared towards the grantees. And NASCAS was working on a data management system RFP training webinar, which essentially is going to help the grantees if they are going to go down the route of getting a data management system, which could include an energy modeling platform. It could include referrals to other programs and so forth. So look for that. The date is to be determined, but it will probably be in May. NASCASP also has a workforce development working group, and we launched the wage survey a little while back, and we've received surveys from about half of our grantees. If you are sort of in the middle of that, you can get a hold of us and still submit that. It's not too late. And so if you have some data, we'd love to get our hands on it. And let's see, the dates of the national virtual conference have changed. So this is an important update. September 20th through the 24th will be the dates for the national virtual NASCASP conference, September 20th through the 24th. And I just want to point out, we're fielding a lot of questions about, a stimulus or potential stimulus. And I just want everyone to know that at this point, what has been in the newspapers and so forth so far, those are President Biden's ideas. Okay, and what happens next is all of that stuff needs to go to Congress to craft the bill. So there aren't any specifics yet. It'll probably be in the summer that some of the specifics are starting to get worked out, but it's kind of a hurry up and wait situation at present. We have a couple of upcoming presentations. NASCASP does. We have 2 at the BPA conference and then 1 at the NUAC conference. A quick reminder that state plans are due May 3rd for July 1 states. So please reach out to Andrea or myself if you need some assistance. And then I want to close with a great big gigantic thank you to all of our members that contributed to the conference, that provided content, that served on panels and all that kind of stuff. We cannot do it without you. And so just a humongous thank you from us at NASCASP to all of you. And with that, I will pass it off. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. That was a lot in a short amount of time, and I'm sure that general gratitude goes right back your way. NASCASP does a lot. Very helpful. I was just thinking about the last in-person national conference in Little Rock, and it feels like 20 years ago, but like just last month. Strange. I think that was the last real-time conference I went to. Crazy. Well, so I know Derek is out today. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but if anyone from DOE would like to provide any updates, now is your chance. Otherwise, I will try to cover them in my updates next. Okay, I will take that silence as I should go ahead. So I usually start with an overview of any new memos or guidance since our last call. It's been surprisingly quiet, so we don't have any new published guidance, but I wanted to give you all a heads up that DOE is working behind the scenes on updating some pretty big pieces in anticipation, like Jonathan was talking about. We all have these ideas of stimulus coming, and DOE is not sitting idly by and waiting. They're trying to lay the groundwork so that we can be kind of ready to roll when and if it comes through, and part of that is looking at guidance that might be a little bit stale or outdated and updating that. So Caleb on the call has been working with them to dust off 17.7, our favorite health and safety guidance, to incorporate information that we've learned since, 2017 when that was drafted. And we all know multifamily production is a big deal during any kind of ramp up in production. So looking at any guidance related to that and seeing how it can be clarified and streamlined. So I expect in the coming months, you'll see movement on those. Stop sharing my screen just in case. Oh, no, let me share it again, actually, really quick. One thing that Jonathan mentioned, I just wanted to make sure you all were familiar with it. I know we have some new people on these calls lately. So Jonathan was talking about IREC is working on developing, they call it admin training, management training. Really, it's for, you know, we have a lot of technical training available for the field in general, but when it comes to kind of management and budgeting, DOE supported the development of a lot of sub-grantee level admin management budgeting training a while ago. And if you haven't seen it, this is what I'm pulling up right now. This is the LMS that we have. It's wap.litmos.com. There are all these learning paths, and it's really great for new hires that, you know, they just need an introduction. It's not going to be specific to your agency necessarily, or if you have state-specific rules, but it's really good at making sure they at least know the overall general landscape of you're working on a federal program, here's how to kind of navigate. And they're pretty interactive. They have activities and everything. And so what Jonathan was talking about is essentially this, but retooled for the grantee level. So this was for the agency level. And I won't play it now because you won't get the sound to go with it, but it's pretty fun. They made like scenarios that you work through and you get to have a little interactivity. So that's what that is. There's, I don't have a link to it, but Jeff Wilcox sent a really good opportunity for a job opening in Vermont as an executive director at an agency. Amy, you might be the best one to actually get that out, but I'll send that link after, so hopefully you can send it around to your network. It has a really good pay package and benefits, and you get to live in delightful Vermont and basically be my neighbor, so there's that. And finally, my last and biggest update, I keep mentioning this Amy, but so many of you might not know her yet. So we have Jonathan at NASCASP who interacts at the grantee level, and then we used to have Catherine Maddox at CAP, who's kind of our direct line to the agency level, and she left a while ago, and recently CAP hired Amy Gendusa English. Did I pronounce that right, Amy?
It's Gendusa English, but I like to tell,
English.
yeah, I like to tell people you can just say English. The Gendusa is just there for decoration.
The Gendusa is silent. Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
So Amy English is joining the team. It looks like she has some really good background with people that even some people on this call maybe. She had has background in Chicago, at CEDA, at utilities, working with LIHEAP. I'm kind of glossing over your whole resume here, Amy, because it just looks like you've done a little bit of everything, and especially what I think a lot of people in this group will be interested in is your experience braiding funding together from different sources and how that can work with in their sphere of WAP, but also on this group, there's a lot of overlap with utilities and LIHEAP and different funding sources. So that part really stuck out at me. And she is neither a cat person nor a dog person, but both, as we all are, really, right? And that's all I'll say. Amy, do you want to say anything to the group? Just say hello? Anything? Not to put you on the spot. Sorry.
Sure. No. Hello, everybody. This is my 6th day on the job, so I'm still, I didn't even know how to put together content for an update. I'm glad to be here and start networking with my other contacts. I've been doing a lot of reading. As Kelly said, I'm based in Chicago, so I'm 100% remote from the DC office at NCAP. And the bulk of my work experience was with the Citizens Utility Board of of Illinois. So I think that the two things that made me a good candidate for this position were the fact that my role at CUB was partnering with community action agencies and the state association and working on policy around LIHEAP and weatherization. So I already kind of had laid the groundwork for the kind of relationship building that I think this position calls for. And then yes, for the last many years, I was participating in what we called the Stakeholder Advisory Group in Illinois, which was this big behemoth group of stakeholders that were working on utility funded energy efficiency programs and what to do with that money, how to braid it with weatherization and what to do with it outside of weatherization. And that was very complex. So yeah, that's probably it. It's hard to summarize all that into like 2 talking points. And as Kelly said, before working at CUB, I was at CUB for many years, and before that I worked at CETA, which is one of the largest community action agencies in the country. So I'm glad to be here.
If not the largest. I
think
largest.
yeah, I feel like sometimes it is the largest, isn't it? I'm not sure. I'm surprised that there isn't something in New York or LA that's larger, but maybe they have it broken down into multiple.
Right, more into the neighborhoods and less like the whole city. Yeah, I'm surprised Jay's not speaking up. I saw he's on the call, but maybe he's muted. Yeah.
So I will say weatherization is secondary to my knowledge base. So that's one of the reasons why I have to caution everyone that I'm still getting acclimated. I didn't know what ASHRAE 62.2 was. But I have a frame of reference for it because I've been hanging around weatherization talk for many years. And even I was around when ERA came out and we had to go through all the discussions around the ramp up and problems that arose and all that. So I've been tangent to weatherization for many years.
Oh, good. That's good to know. The more of us who have went through it the last time, I think, hopefully the wiser we can be this round.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Well, we're glad to have you. It's nice. There's been kind of a hole in our kind of communication landscape since we lost Catherine, so it's nice to have someone in your role again. And welcome to the Trainers Consortium. We have someone in the Q&A talking about how great and big CETA is. So yeah, I think they might be the biggest one. Anna Sullivan from IREC, I know you had your regular updates, and then we were going to talk about the career map. So if you have images to share, Caleb can pass you the ball.
Great, thank you, Kelly. I would love to show the website. So if I can have the share screen functionality, I will happily walk everyone through the new career map. Just very quickly, nice to meet you, Amy. I'm also a former CETA alum, so I'm sure we'll get to exchange some stories on the network at some point. IREX updates for this month. Many of you already heard that we're engaged in a new training development initiative for WAP grantees. We've got several regular members of this network on that group, so we're really excited to be getting started with our new cohort of SMEs. We continue to support credentialing activities for energy efficiency and renewable energy training programs. I want to give a shout out to our latest credential holders. Congratulations to NYSWADA. They renewed accreditation for their QCI training program recently, and to Kentucky Housing, who renewed for a new 5-year credential for their energy auditor and QCI training programs, as well as to Janet Hughes, who's actually a PV trainer based in New Mexico. She renewed her master trainer certification. My main update for today, IREC is very pleased to announce the launch of the Green Buildings Career Map. And I'm going to spend just a couple minutes walking you guys through this new tool. But First of all, it says another application is using your camera. No, I don't want to do that. Where's the share screen? Share content. Here we go. Let me know if you are seeing the career map. Is this good?
Yep, it popped up.
Okay, good. All right, I can't move this little widget tool. Oh, yes, I can. Maybe I'll move that over there. Perfect. So IREC has produced a number of career maps in the past. Our first one was a solo career map that was developed almost 5 years ago now. A couple years after that, we developed an HVACR specific career map. And just, I think it was a week ago, we were pleased to announce the launch of the Green Buildings Career Map, which is primarily for jobs in the energy efficiency sector. I want to start out by giving a huge thanks to all of the SMEs who contributed. This was a very ambitious timeline. In less than a year, our SMEs, many of whom are on this call, worked through voluminous content, looking at all of the potential jobs to consider. We've included 55 jobs on this map. It's impossible to include everybody's job, but we looked at each of the 4 sectors that you can see delineated by these ribbons here: architecture, engineering, and other professional services, building ops and facility management, commercial and institutional construction and retrofitting, and then we had residential and multifamily construction and retrofitting as their own ribbons. We have the map or the ribbons divided into 3 tiers: entry-level jobs, through mid-level, all the way up to advanced level jobs. The user can click on any job and look at job details, looking at the training required to get into these jobs, national salary data, and look at potential advancement routes from that starting point. So if you are housed within a training center and you're offering any career guidance services to your students, please direct them to this tool. I think it's a really great way to help folks kind of create their own career path and look at how they might stack credentials and training and work experience to get to different roles within our industry. The map also shows you some, I guess, predetermined multi-sector advancement routes. So you could start here from building performance installer and look at some different pathways to other sectors. But these are just some samples that our SMEs put together. This is just really a very interactive tool for anyone who's supporting learners and workers looking to advance their careers in energy efficiency. The third tab, and lastly, because I know we're running out of time, we have identified jobs on the career map that don't require a traditional 4-year college degree. These are now referred to as new collar jobs. And we see that there's a lot of opportunity within our industry through professional certification and other associate's degrees and professional training that can enable people to advance into really rewarding jobs. So it was a pleasure working with everyone on this. We're going to be doing a lot of outreach at conferences over the next year or so. If you want to learn more about the tool, reach out to me or anyone at IREC. We'd be happy to give you a guided tour and help you use the tool as effectively as possible. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Anna. Does anyone have any questions before we shift gears to talk about badges? I know that was a lot in a brief time, so I'll just give everyone a second or two. If you're muted, you can raise your hand or put it in the chat if you have any follow-up while we have Anna here.
Oh, there's a question in chat. Pete was just asking about the career map. We have the 3, each ribbon has 3 sections, which is the entry, mid-level, and advanced. And within that, there's 3 rows. That's really just to enable us to fit all of the different jobs. The hierarchy within each section is not very nuanced, but in general, you can say that the bottom tier of jobs are considered more entry level.
That was a good question. And I guess just one, thinking about our specific audience here, Anna, like if you were still at, you know, in a training role, how would you imagine taking this career map and using it in a very kind of practical terms?
Yeah, I think, you know, certainly when I was at AEA, we were doing a lot of training, like pathways out of poverty training, doing entry level energy efficiency technician training, where this would be a great tool to integrate into the course, to actually put it up onto the screen and allow students to themselves to connect to it through, you know, their smartphones, and explore the different jobs and what kind of training would be required, what kind of work experience would they need, and, you know, what other types of professional credentialing might they consider pursuing down the road. I didn't want to spend too much time because I know you have a main speaker, but behind each job there's like job detail pages, and I think allowing students to really explore those and see how those job descriptions align with their professional interests really gives people more of an insight into where they might fit.
Great, thanks. I don't see any other questions coming in, but that's really good insight. Then I think we are ready to shift gears to our main speaker. Amanda was letting me know it might be a little bit spotty with her access right now, but let's give it a...
I think I'm okay.
Oh, great. Great. Caleb, can you switch it over so Amanda can have the ball? And while you're doing that, most of you all know Amanda, but we wanted to talk the last half of today's call about, you know, badging, the Badges Toolkit in general, DOE's kind of approach and feeling about badging and on-the-job training in general. So I thought we would start off with Amanda. I know at the training center down in Santa Fe has done a lot with badging, and I know Wade was working on it too from Utah, but I don't see that he's on today. But if anyone else has had experience, I hope that, oh, Wade is on. So Wade, anyone else who's been looking into badging, once Amanda's done, I hope that you'll feel free to speak up either in the chat, or we can unmute you or turn you into a panelist, and then talking about kind of what the next steps look like in terms of where this could go next, and in the context of the impending stimulus. And I got my first "we don't need no stinking badges" joke. Congratulations, Joe. I'll have to send you the corny prize for the day. All right, Amanda, take it away.
Okay, and you can see my screen okay?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to talk about badges, but first of all, I'm going to talk about what leads up to badges. So as some of you know, we have a field guide that we've created. It's also could be used as a job aid, or with some modifications as a job aid. And so I'm showing you a page from it, from the field guide, and I'm sure many of you have your own state field guides, and some of you may use the one that we developed, and some may use other ones. But for example, this page is how to vent a clothes dryer, and it talks about where it aligns with, it has tools and materials, before and after. And then the next 2 pages sort of show all the steps for how to vent a clothes dryer. And so if you have an installer who has access to this, and maybe has had training either in the field or in the classroom, but not necessarily in a classroom, maybe on the job, using this type of a guide, or as Kelly would call them, a job aid maybe, this is then something that they can use to train themselves in the field, or they can ask questions as they go, but it's really clear all the different steps of how to do the job correctly. Following that, you have to have a way of being able to assess that they can do it. And so the word that people use for assessments for fieldwork is a rubric. And so this is a rubric that we have for venting a clothes dryer. It talks about the appropriate materials, the short run, the support you need. It has levels of mastery or proficiency. So a 1, you're not using the right material. Number 3, you get 3 points for 50% of it is correct, and 5 points for 100% of it's correct. So this is the way that you assess that previous work that someone was doing in the field. And this all aligns to the badging toolkit that Kelly developed, or other people as well, I guess, mainly Kelly developed. So let's say you have someone in the field and they've been doing clothes dry events for some time and they feel pretty proficient and they've been using the field guide pages or some other way to check that, that they are doing it correctly. And this is the second page of that assessment rubric. They could then ask someone to assess them. And the way that we do it is we have sort of a trusted crew leader who's the person that does the assessment. It could be a state monitor, it could be an energy auditor, or it could be a trainer. But realistically, crew leaders are on the job site and they're there while the person's doing it. So we know who our crew leaders are in the state, so we're pretty confident in their capabilities. And so they would assess the person using this form, which aligns to that field guide I showed you. And then at the bottom, they would sign it, the assessor would sign it, and they would have the date. Then they send it to us, and we would then give them a badge. And this is what our badge looks like. And this is the clothes dry event to exterior, and it has all of those same items that were in the field guide and on the assessment. So now, once we get that assessment rubric back, which has got, yes, they could do it, and they did it, sufficiently to be able to be awarded a badge, we have a digital badging set up, and you can also print it out like a certificate. But you could do this as a paper badge. You could do it as a badging, like a passport book. You could do it as someone just keeping a list of who's got what badges in your state. And it really helps the installers start to show that their accomplishments as they go. And a huge benefit is they really don't have to then be dragged off the job site to go to a training center to learn how to do something, where they're there for 5 days, cramming information in their mind, and then so going back to the field trying to remember what they did. This way they watch someone else do it. They have their field guide, or you could call it, create something like that that's a job aid. It's just something for the installer to be referring to that explains that whether they're doing the job correctly. They have a way to assess them, and then you have a way to give them a badge. And so I'll show you quickly another one. This is actually one that Kelly helped us on. This is prepping the attic floor for insulation. So these are the pages from our field guide. There's page 1, 2, and 3. We then have a rubric to assess them, and we then have a badge. And so different states, we've worked with a bunch of states who are using the field guide, and some states are then using just the rubrics and using those, with their own system. I don't know, maybe they're using certificates or whatever, but it's a pretty straightforward system to use. And creating your own rubrics isn't that hard. It's a bit time consuming, but I know Kelly's, can give tons of help to that. So you really just need those 3 steps, I think. You need a way for them to be able to, like in the field, refer to something that explains how to do the job, and then like a little short job, not the entire job of a retrofit, just one little key component. And then you have the way to assess it, something set up in your state or your training center or however to assess that they did it. And then you need a way to award them, some certificate, badge of accomplishment. And I think it's going to be really helpful if we do get stimulus money, because it means that people can be in the field working and not pulled away. What else? I think that's about it. Can you think of
great. So one question came in. There are a couple questions coming in. One, understanding that people can make their own decisions on these, but the way you've set it up, I think in the badges toolkit that DOE put out with a certain guidance, I can't even remember the number anymore, memo 32 or something, it had kind of a default of you know, displaying competency on a given task like 5 times before you earn the badge. Do you have any kind of multiple like that, or is it just if they one and done? If you've done it once and you've passed the rubric, then you earn the badge?
Right now we are doing 3, but
3, okay.
But I mean, we could add it to 5, I guess, if that's the best practice, you know, and I guess everyone can just, you know, do it their own way. And so we sort of rely on the crew leader to say, yeah, I've seen him do it a bunch, and now I'm going to assess him. And the crew leader or her. So the crew leader is really, in our state, the key person. In other states, it may work better to have someone else be the person that is assessing them, or it may even be something that you're doing a training and you're doing these 3 items in a training, and at the end of the training they've shown that they could do those 3 items multiple times, and you can award them a badge. And then I know what I did mean to say also. Something that's really cool about badging is they don't then have to get every single badge that week. I mean, they could be getting it over a period of time, and then, for example, someone's got like 4 insulation badges that relate to insulation, and then you know, even though we might not want them to, they go to work for an insulation company, they can actually show with pretty good detail the tasks that they can do, rather than just saying, oh, I got a retrofit installer certification and here's my certificate. These can show more competencies, and they can actually say, look, I could dense pack this, I could, you know, prep the attic floor, that type of thing. So it's sort of portable, and the way that we have our digital badges, they can put them on LinkedIn and Facebook, and they can email them to people, and then they can also download it as a certificate. And there are a bunch of different badging companies out there, that digital ones that you can use and access if you want to go that route. But you could also, you know, have a passport, or even maybe make groovy cloth badges, and they could have them all the way down their arms.
That's, I was just thinking of the Girl Scouts and the sash.
Yeah.
We could have our
Yeah.
Yeah, so some comments are coming in, Jay, saying these can be mixed with badges from third-party providers as well. He said Linked has several. I'm not sure if he meant LinkedIn. You could create badges to build up to larger certifications. Oh yeah, LinkedIn he meant. I know, I'm not sure if anyone feels comfortable. I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I had heard, I remember a while ago, the trainers at MyTech, and I saw Ray, Judy, you were on the line, had talked about doing something along these lines, but having a slightly different approach, where first you would get that preliminary training in how to do a certain thing right, so it could be on the job or at the center, and then you could do the on the job, kind of displaying that you had done it right. Or, you know, maybe you get the training, you get to practice on the job, and then you do the skills demonstration at the training center or in front of that kind of qualified supervisor signing off on the rubric would be a trainer at the accredited training center that the state works with. I'm curious to hear, I know, yeah, what all people are doing.
Kelly, can I quickly answer a couple of the questions? It says the digital badges have the person's name on them, and so they can't be taken out or traded, and it's they have an account with their badges in the account. So you can't like steal someone else's badge and write your name in it. And then Amy asked, are they universally recognized? And so the badges that we do come from Santa Fe Community College's accounts. So, you know, it would be if you wanted to do it through MyTech, for example, and MyTech would be the ones that are awarding the badges. So you just have to, you know, unless it ends up where the Department of Energy or BPI or someone is off awarding these badges, right now it's up to the individual like training centers or states or whomever to come up with, you know, who's recognizing the quality of the work.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think, I mean, the one thing for those of you who aren't as familiar with kind of the baseline badges toolkit that that DOE put out, that Amanda gave me sole credit for, thank you very much. It was really the crew lead. The certification scheme committee kind of worked to help make sure that nothing was missing and was a part of that. But I think one of the most important parts, which you also pointed out in the field guide, Amanda, is that everything's tied back to the SWS. So everything's tied back to our work standards. So ideally, if people are picking up that baseline badges toolkit and turning it into something that they're going to use, as long as we all tie back to that work quality, like this is the minimum work quality that we'll accept, then ideally they would be kind of easily, I guess, recognized whether you were working for a utility program or maybe it's some kind of state program or weatherization, that, you know, air sealing is air sealing. Like treating an attic is treating an attic. It doesn't really matter where that money's coming from, other than the fact that some things have cost effectiveness guidelines and some things don't. But like the work, we know what the work should look like, whether we're doing that and we're being paid by PG&E money or LIHEAP money or WAP money or some other fund. So hopefully, if everything ties back to that work quality standard, that now with the SWS being public and for so long, we're hoping that badges like this will help us bridge that gap into the wider, I feel like since I've come on anyway, it's been an ongoing discussion about how do we bridge that gap between weatherization and the wider home performance world. It seems like there's always this kind of gap there where, you know, those guys don't understand that we're doing the same work. We just treat slightly different housing stock and have different program guidelines depending on what you're doing. And hopefully the badges would be that thing where a utility program wouldn't necessarily want someone to get certified as a retrofit installer because maybe that utility program only does 5 things. They don't do the whole gamut that we do potentially in weatherization. So if they're focused on ducts or insulation, then they could just say, to work in this program, you have to earn these badges. So that's my hope with this, and I hope that not only it helps make our workers more versatile, but that it brings other programs into your training centers to take on this stuff. So I've been talking a while now. Wade or Ray, anyone on the call? Has anyone else been working with badges? And if so, would you share with us how it's going? And if it hasn't worked out, I'd love to hear that too. I think we all would. We want to learn from each other's. Hey, Wade, you sound a little bit far away. Can you speak up a tiny bit? I can hear you. I think it might be, maybe it's my earbuds. I can hear you fine. Okay. Can everyone else hear Wade?
He's pretty faint. I can barely hear him.
It is kind of faint, huh?
Is that any better?
It's still kind of faint. We'll just all have to sit in, you know, very respectful silence. Please go ahead.
If you can let me show on the screen, I can kind of show you what we're doing and show you some issues that we've ran into, be aware of and stuff. So I don't know if you make me the presenter so I can show my screen.
You should be good to go now.
Yep. So then, Wade, you just have to select, it should be down in the bottom toolbar. Yep. There should be a share option. There you go.
Okay.
Great.
Good deal. So this is our badging system. We use it as a new hire training and existing employee assessment tool. First of all, ditto to everything that Amanda said. We've spelled out, so the purpose, spell everything out very clearly for them. How to use the badging system. So for new hires, how they would use it. And again, very detailed. And for existing employees, using it as an assessment tool. And again, spelling out the instructions for them. And then this is an example of one of our badges. So we have our rubric in here, the desired outcome, the relevant standards, requirements, et cetera, job number, date, the trainer, the installer sign off, and then final QCI sign off. And a QCI has to sign off on every one of the badges. We're working on getting this all on a digital format because here's one of the problems we found when we were giving them paper. So like someone turned in this. So I know it was done at the IWTC. We were doing a install dense pack wall insulation training on our wall props, but they didn't put the date. I don't know who the trainer was other than Giant Scribble, and no idea who this QCI was or what this was about. So, you know, getting badges that are legible, like this one. So it was out in the field somewhere, but no job number. I can make out the date, but the installer was really long scribble. Another example, so 2 jobs, we can kind of make out the job numbers. No clue who this trainer was, no clue who the installer was.
And there aren't that many of you in the state, right? So that makes it extra funny that you don't know who that trainer is.
Yeah, you know, this one's like just killing me here. This QCI, I happen to know this signature, so I know who this QCI is, but I mean, this kind of stuff is what we ran into with the paper versions. So we're trying to get everything electronic. And the other thing we're doing is on our LMS, this is where they will upload their completed badges. And we have this little cool thing here where we're working on making some electronic badges like Amanda has already done. So I may plagiarize some of your stuff, Amanda, or at least consult you.
Totally fine.
But they have to upload their completed badges here. So this is our retrofit installer course. We have keep the latest version of our badging system on here so they can download it. That way they can't say, oh, I didn't get it or whatever. And then as they complete them, they upload them here. When they get uploaded, myself and their coordinator get an email that says John Doe has uploaded whatever badge. And we've also set deadlines in here. So if they don't upload a certain amount of badges per quarter or whatever, then they'll get several nagging emails that say you have not completed your badge assignment. So kind of in a quick nutshell, because I know we're running out of time here, that's how we're using it. And again, some of the problems that we found is paper doesn't work. It ends up on the floor of the truck, and just, I mean, this is unacceptable. So when they upload to the LMS, if I get those unacceptable versions, I just send them back and say, you don't get to do that one. Please do one that I can read. So that's kind of where we're at with it. Any questions or anything?
Just a little bit on the details. I saw that it looks like you have it set up so they do maybe a certain amount of times overseen by a trainer and then a certain amount of times with no oversight, and the QCI is the one who's qualified to sign off on the work. Did I get that right? Oh,
exactly. And so again, we've spelled that out in here. So I'll just go down and make it easy for you here. So a new employee would have to do all 3. So they'd have a job, date, the trainer, the installer, and then a QCI. And then the new employee would also have to do that 2 more times without a trainer. So now they're on their own. And the installer has to say, yes, I did it according to the rubric. And a QCI still has to go out and check it and make sure, yep, he got it right. And if it's an existing employee, so someone who's been with our program for 10 years, they can skip the first box and just go to the 2 bottom boxes. And that way we have an assessment tool. So we can go, okay, yeah, that employee knows how to do this. He signed off that he did. A QCI signed off that he did. So we don't need to bring this individual up to the training center for a week to do something that he already knows how to do. And that's kind of our approach to it.
That's great. Anyone else have any questions for Wade or Amanda, or any kind of experiences doing stuff like this? I love seeing this getting used out there.
Oh, and Kelly, I'd just like to add in, yesterday I had a private contractor in the home performance industry at the training center, and I was showing him this, and he's like, can I take this and use this for my new guys I'm hiring that need to know how to do installation? This is awesome. This is a great thing you've done. Can I use it in my business to train my guys? So I was like, yeah, sure.
I don't know if, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Dave Heavenso. I just want to say this is awesome. And I'm just a question, to what extent can you make any comments on using it as an assessment tool for longtime staff? I mean, you're sort of comparing the bringing staff on board and using it ongoing. Can you share any experience?
As far as, so
Does it work well, I guess, with the current staff?
Oh, yeah, the existing staff love it because, you know, according to what is it, WPN 30, whatever, whichever one about the tier 1, tier 2 training. So, you know, a guy that knows how to air seal and dam high temperature attic penetrations, who's been with our program for 10 years, well, he doesn't have to come up to the training center for a week and get a bunch of training he already knows how to do. We can assess him with this tool and go, okay, he knows how to do this stuff. The QCI is certified.
Thing I can do it is him going through a process where you're assessing it. Yeah. Sounds good.
And so they've really liked it because they want to get out there and, you know, they want to be out working. And of course we're gauged on the number of widgets we produce, not the amount of energy we save. But I will not get on that soapbox.
Yeah, let's nip that one right in the bud for today.
Yeah. So, you know, the guys like it because they can do some of this out in the field. It all comes back to me via our LMS. So I can check everything and, you know, make sure everything's going good and guys are doing what they're supposed to do the way they're supposed to do it.
The only thing I would also ask is, both presentations were great. Okay, but there was the reference to an assumption that all housing stock is sort of the same in effect. You know, we've got a lot of 1 to 4s that are row houses, and row houses are not the same. And to what extent is anybody doing or using this kind of tool, taking on badges for row houses, doing air sealing and insulation, for example, in a row house?
We made lots of adjustments to this. Like there was a badge for, it's clear at the very end, but there was a badge for insulating mobile home walls. We don't do that. Insulating mobile home walls, trying to drill and fill is silliness, in my opinion, and everyone in the state of Utah's opinion. So we got rid of that badge, and you can customize them to whatever you need. So if you have something specific or particular to row houses, you know, take a badge as a template and put something together and throw it against the wall and see if it sticks. That's what we've been doing, and it's been working pretty good.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the whole point of these is for us to customize them and use them and see how they work and give Kelly feedback over a period of time. So you can kind of like make up your own one, although obviously it should be related to the SWS.
Yes, absolutely. And we just finished, I'm proud to say, and I can't take credit for it, my cohort, Matt Dalton, but we just completed our own state-specific field guide and got it approved by DOE. And so all of this stuff goes back. You'll notice every standard references our field guide and the SWS. So.
This is all so great. I love seeing this happen. We have one more question. I have one follow-up. I know we're getting to the end. Jake asked, are there any exceptions? Okay, wait, sorry, okay. I fell behind. Joe asked, besides pride, is there any financial benefit to getting these? I think that's going to be a state-by-state decision. I know that the inspiration for all these was a large-ish agency in Colorado, and once they got their whole suite of badges, they got $1 an hour raise. Are either of you looking at anything like that?
Ours is agency specific. So some of our agencies have the ability to say, okay, look, if you get X number of badges completed in your probationary period, you'll get a raise. Some of our agencies just don't have that luxury. We at the state cannot force the agencies to give their people more money. I wished we could, because we would, but that's another soapbox I won't get on here either.
Then Jake was asking, are there any exceptions for trained staff? Basically asking, would us older staff need to start a whole new passport or process? I think, Wade, you showed us how if you've been with it for a while, you get to kind of skip ahead and not do the trainer part, but you just go about your business basically and fill out your badges.
Yep, exactly. And that seems to be working well for us so far. So just I go back to this. This is just, I laugh when I see them, but I don't know. I guess I shouldn't. It's just not funny because, I mean, yeah.
And then, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Amanda. I know we might go a couple minutes over. If people have to leave, don't worry, we'll send her on the recording. But if you can stick around, go ahead.
EA and BA and QCI, this isn't specifically for them unless they want to go back and like show that they can seal, air seal, high temp, some, or do different, some of the different tasks. It's not, this is specifically for installers.
Right, and I was, that was something, I know we have one more question I want to get to, but something I wanted to put in everyone's ear before people have to start leaving more is, in this whole planning and preparation for another ramp up, another stimulus, the whole administration and DOE and Erica and Derek are really supportive of anything that we can do to help with on-the-job training, production-based training, anything we can do to help people be doing the job right while they're out there kind of, finding their sea legs. And so this part is already there for people to pick up and modify or work with some training providers and incorporate. For the installer part, what we're kind of looking at next is what would this look like for an energy auditor? Like we have the accredited training, but what would a more kind of bite-sized on-the-job training support look like for the energy auditor? Is it a similar badges toolkit? Is it the job aids? So we have some ideas, but we're looking at that now. So I just wanted, maybe we can talk about that on a future call. But I don't want to skip.
We already chunked up our energy auditor class into lots of tiny bite-sized pieces, and they get a certificate for each of those. If they just want to do advanced combustion testing, for example, instead of sitting through an EA class that has got, everything in it.
Right, yeah, and that's why, I feel like it will look a little different because like the training's already there. It's just about chunking it out. But then what's that, is there that other piece of like the on-the-job job aids? So, but Andrew asked, did you find that this came about organically from grantees and sub-grantees wanting them, or did you, as the training provider, kind of push folks to utilize it? He's basically asking, how do we get states to request this from us? Because we feel like it has to come from them as, as a training provider, you can't really push it on people. So how did you help people do like that whole value proposition?
So from my perspective, we did the field guide, and then it was really and we actually had created the badges some time ago, but we hadn't started using them. And so when we did the field guide, it seemed really natural then to just like go field guide, rubric, and badge. And so we asked Troy, the state in New Mexico, hey, how about we do this for installers? He was totally on board. And then since then, other states that are using our field guide, I haven't remembered all the time, but with a lot of them, I've told them, hey, we have these rubrics. If you want to pair that with the field guide, you can then, figure out your own badging, but you've got a way to do it. And I guess if you're a trainer or a training center that's using that, you want to ask them, if they're interested.
And Wade, you pretty much just make all the decisions in your state, right?
Yeah, we have the luxury of telling them you shall do this. So, and they kind of begrudgingly took to it, but after we started getting it going and making it a little easier and the interface easier, and we started off with they had to do 5 iterations, and we got a lot of pushback on that, so we narrowed it down to 3. But now everyone is, pretty much 100% going, yeah, this is cool. This works great. This is a good tool. We like it. So. And the fact that a private contractor came to me and looked at it and said, "Can I take this to my employees?" That says something, I guess, right there, all in itself.
Oh yeah, I don't know what cockles are, but it warms the cockles of my heart to hear that. I love that. Well, great. I know we went a little over. Thanks everyone for sticking it out with us. I think maybe our next call might be about more on-the-job training support and what that might look like. I think probably all of you, like us, are thinking very seriously about what this stimulus might look like for our
updated module
for our world.
All those pieces are working. We're still looking at a launch date of May 3rd, assuming Clear Result can finish their programming piece by then.
I can't tell if that's from Wade or somebody else, but perfect timing. Yeah, thanks everyone. Happy belated Easter for those of you who celebrate, and I will talk to you next month.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thanks, Kelly. Bye.